In a dark room deep inside the Varnak Empire's mind lab, cold blue lights flickered. The walls were made of smooth silver. No doors, no windows, only silence. Inside, one figure stood still. Tall, with black skin that shimmered like glass. Its head was larger than a human's. Its eyes were pure white. His name was Zeroth. He was not a soldier. He was more dangerous than that. He was a mind reader. Zeroth had broken kings and queens with just a glance. His gift let him step into the thoughts of any creature. No one had ever hidden anything from him. That was why. The Emperor himself had chosen him for this mission. Across the room, behind a glowing barrier, sat a human. He looked calm, almost bored. He had short, dark hair, brown eyes, and wore a simple uniform. His name was Dr. James Cade, a scientist from Earth. He had been captured during a space battle. But oddly, he had no injuries. He refused to speak. He only watched. Zeroth stepped closer. "You are alone," Zeroth said in a slow, deep voice. "Your world is silent. Your people do not know where you are. Speak." James didn't move. Zeroth tilted his head. "No matter. Your mind will speak for you." The glowing barrier vanished. Zeroth placed his hand on James's head. His eyes rolled back. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then Zeroth's body jerked. Voices. So many voices. A child laughing. A man shouting. A woman crying. A machine humming. A song playing. Whispers. Screams. Laughter. Prayers. Dreams. Hate. Love. 1,000 thoughts at once. Zeroth gasped and fell to his knees. "What is this?" he whispered. "Too many." James looked at him with cold curiosity. "Still want to read my mind?" Zeroth tried to pull out, but the connection was stuck. Instead of one mind, he had stepped into something much bigger, like an endless maze. "Where is your core?" Zeroth growled, struggling. "Your center thought?" James smiled. "Which one?" Suddenly Zeroth was in a field, green grass, blue sky. Then he was in a burning city. Then in space, falling. Then underwater, choking. Then in a memory of a funeral. Then in a dream of flying. He screamed and broke the connection, falling backward and shaking. Alarms rang. Varnak guards rushed in. Zeroth's nose bled. His hands trembled. He couldn't stand. "Remove the human," one guard ordered. "No," Zeroth said, voice weak. "Do not touch him." "But he attacked you," the guard said. "No," Zeroth whispered. He didn't move. It was all inside. James leaned forward, his voice calm. "You wanted to know what's inside a human mind? You found it. It's not a book. It's a storm." Zeroth was taken to the infirmary. His brain scans confused the doctors. No damage, but unusual activity, like his own thoughts were echoing back at him. The Varnak Emperor was furious. "You were chosen because you never fail," the Emperor said, his image towering over Zeroth in a hologram. "Yet you collapsed like a child." Zeroth lowered his head. "This human is different." "Different how? He is not one voice. He is thousands. All at once. Are you saying he is more advanced?" "No, he is more chaotic." The Emperor paused. "Try again, with machines if needed." Zeroth hesitated. "If I fail again, my mind may break." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Then don't fail." This time, they prepared a full lab with neural support and blockers. Zeroth would not go in alone. Machines would monitor and guide him. The human was strapped to a chair, but he didn't resist. "Round 2, James said. "Be careful, you might get lost again." Zeroth entered his mind once more, but this time, he wasn't alone. The machines recorded everything. At first, it was peaceful, a memory of a quiet home, a mother cooking, a child reading a book. Then it shifted. Gunshots, explosions, fire, fear, anger. The machines flickered. "Emotions are interfering," one Varnak technician said. No, said another. They're reflecting. It's like he's showing us. Ourselves? Inside James's mind, Zeroth now saw images that weren't human. He saw himself. He saw the genocide he helped cause on the planet. Orin. He saw the face of a child he had erased from history. He saw guilt. No, Zeroth said. These aren't his memories, James's voice echoed. They're yours. My mind is a mirror, Zeroth. Look closer. The machine sparked. One exploded. Screens went dark. Zeroth screamed and disconnected, falling again. But this time, something stayed with him. He looked around. Everything felt wrong. He heard voices. In his own head. Whispers. Was it worth it? Monster. Why did you kill them? Zeroth stood up in fear. Silence. But the voices didn't stop. He ran out of the lab. Days passed. Zeroth locked himself in his chamber. No food. No sleep. The voices grew louder. The Emperor contacted him again. You failed twice. Zeroth stared at the screen with hollow eyes. He didn't fight. He didn't resist. He opened his mind. And I couldn't survive it. You are the strongest telepath in the galaxy. You will return, or you will be replaced. Zeroth trembled. Your Majesty. You don't understand. This human is not a prisoner. He's the weapon. The Emperor frowned. Explain. Zeroth whispered. He let us take him. On purpose, so we'd try to read him. But his mind is like a virus. It copies. It reflects. It infects. I can't tell what's his and what's mine anymore. The Emperor ended the call without a word. Meanwhile, in the holding cell, James sat quietly. A young alien technician walked past and paused. James looked up. Curious? The technician gulped. They say you destroyed the mind reader. James shrugged. He destroyed himself. I just opened the door. What are you? James thought for a second, then smiled. I'm human. That means I doubt everything. I imagine impossible things. I remember pain and still laugh. I dream even when I know it might kill me. That's what broke your reader. He was used to silence. I gave him noise. The technician stepped back slowly. The next day, Zeroth was missing. His room was empty, but carved into the wall were the words, "What have I become?" The Emperor ordered James to be executed. But when the guards arrived, the human was already gone. Just vanished at no alarms. No door opened. Only a quiet recording played from the wall. Zeroth's voice. He is still inside me. Across the Empire, strange things began to happen. Mind readers quit. Some went mad. Others claimed to see human thoughts in their dreams. Earth was silent. Not a word from the humans. No attacks. No ships. Just silence. But inside the minds of the Varnak, something had changed. One by one, they started to feel guilt, fear, hope. It spread like fire in dry grass. And all it took was one human, one open mind. Something wasn't right about the human. At first, they thought he was just another captured enemy, weak, small, full of fear. But now, the entire Varnak High Council was afraid of him. Dr. James Cade sat alone in his bright, empty cell. The walls were smooth, white, and cold. No windows, no bed, no food. Just a chair and the floor. Still, he sat calmly with his eyes closed, as if meditating. From the other side of the wall, Varnak scientists watched him through screens. The lead researcher, a gray-skinned alien named Varlin, turned to the others. He hasn't moved in hours. Not even to sleep. Another scientist, Yex, frowned. He doesn't eat. He doesn't drink. No vital signs have changed. Is he even human? Varlin narrowed his eyes. He's human. That's what makes this worse. Ever since the first mind reader, Zeroth, had collapsed after scanning James, things had gone strange. Zeroth disappeared. Then two more telepaths tried. Both had nightmares afterward. One went silent. The other tried to scratch out his own eyes. It made no sense. Zeroth had read minds across the galaxy, warriors, monsters, emperors. But this. One calm human broke him. The Emperor ordered more tests. This time, they used machines instead of minds. James was taken to the core chamber, a massive room with walls made of living metal. Hundreds of wires and probes were placed on his head. A smooth robotic voice echoed, scanning cerebral activity. "Stand by." James smiled faintly. "You won't like what you find." Varlin watched nervously from the control room. "Begin." Full mental mapping, the screens filled with data. At first, it looked normal basic human brainwaves. But then the readings changed. "Spikes in emotional patterns," said a technician. "Memory loops, internal voices clashing. It's like he's thinking in multiple directions at once." "That's impossible," Varlin said. "A human brain isn't built like that." Suddenly, all the screens turned black. A strange humming noise came from the speakers. Soft, like a whisper, then louder. Then words. Varlin leaned in. The machine was speaking in James's voice. "I see you," it said. "I see your guilt. I see the fear you hide. Shut it down." Varlin shouted. A spark flew from the console. One technician fell back, clutching his head. Another began to laugh softly at first, then louder, until it became a scream. James sat in the center of it all, eyes still closed, smiling. When they finally powered everything off, the room smelled like burned wires. The machines were ruined. James opened his eyes and spoke. "Still want to scan me again?" The Emperor was furious. "This human is a threat," he said to his top generals. "Not because of weapons. Because of something inside him. We must understand it. Or it will spread." A new team of scientists was formed, not telepaths, not machines, just observers. They watched James day and night. One alien named Core, young and curious, kept a journal. Day 1. Human does not sleep. He only stares. Sometimes he smiles when no one speaks. He asked me why I wear gloves. I told him it was for protection. He said, "From me or from yourself?" Day 3. I dreamed of Earth. I've never been there. But I saw green trees and rain. I woke up crying. Day 5. I heard his voice in my head. He wasn't speaking, but I felt it. He said my father still forgave me. Day 7. I stopped writing. I'm afraid I'm no longer watching him. He's watching me. After that, Core was removed. No one else volunteered. In his cell, James tapped his fingers slowly on the chair arm. It sounded like music, simple and strange. Varlin entered the room alone. He held a small box in his hand. "You're not eating, but your body still lives. That breaks every rule we know." James said nothing. Varlin opened the box. Inside was a tiny blue sphere, glowing softly. "This is a memory extractor," he said. "It doesn't read thoughts. It only pulls one memory. We'll use it on you. You can't fight it." James tilted his head. "Which memory will you take?" "Your greatest fear." James's smile faded. Varlin pressed the device to James's temple. The sphere glowed brighter, then flickered, then cracked. A loud bang filled the room as the sphere exploded in blue light. Varlin flew back, hit the wall, and slid down unconscious. James stood now, even though the shock should have killed a man. Guards rushed in. James didn't move. Still, the guards hesitated. His eyes were open, now bright, and wild. One guard screamed and dropped his weapon. He clutched his head and fell. The other fired, but the shot hit the wall behind James. He had vanished. The alarm sounded. Subject has escaped. A voice yelled. Through the halls, but no doors had opened, no tunnels, no tricks. James simply walked through the fear in their minds. The Emperor called a meeting that same hour. "We're not facing a soldier," he said. "We're facing something ancient. Something Earth has hidden." One general spoke up. He's not magic, he's just a man. The Emperor looked him in the eyes, then go catch him. The general took 20 soldiers and tracked James to the outer edge of the station. They found him standing near a glass wall that showed the stars. He looked peaceful. "You're under arrest," the general said. James turned around. "For what?" "For war crimes, for mind attacks, for destroying Varnak property." James raised his eyebrows. "I sat in a chair." The general stepped forward. "Don't move." James didn't. Still, the soldiers didn't shoot. One of them whispered, "Why is he just standing there?" Another replied, I feel like he knows me." "Silence!" The general snapped. He raised his weapon. Then froze. James looked at him. Not angry, just curious. "What's your real fear?" James asked. "The gun in your hand or the thoughts in your head?" The general blinked. His hands shook. He dropped the weapon. Then turned and ran. The soldiers followed. James stood alone again. Later that night, he returned to his cell. By himself. No one stopped him. In the control room, Varlin watched him through the screen. His face was pale. Why did he come back? He whispered. Because they all knew now, James was not trying to escape. He wanted to stay. He wanted them to keep trying, because every time they looked inside him, a part of him looked back. And now they couldn't forget it. Not ever. The Varnak Empire had ruled over 200 alien species. Some were warriors, some were thinkers, some had special powers. But all of them, every single one, had minds the Varnak could control. That's how the Varnak grew strong. Mind readers would scan a new race, learn their secrets, and break their will. Some took days. Some took weeks. But none had ever resisted completely, until now, until the humans came. Dr. James Cade wasn't supposed to be dangerous. He had no weapons, no army, no implants. He didn't fight. He didn't even run. He just sat, smiled, and let them try. And every time they tried to read him, something terrible happened. Zeroth, the Empire's best telepath, was gone. The Mind Lab machines were ruined. Soldiers reported hallucinations. Some guards said they could still hear his voice. Even when James didn't speak, the Emperor demanded answers out in the tall black tower of the High Command. Scientists and generals gathered. One of them, a short red-eyed scholar named Trell, stood before a large screen. Behind him floated a hologram of James still sitting calmly in his white room, watching nothing and everything at the same time. Trell cleared his throat. "I believe we made a mistake." The room went quiet. "What kind of mistake?" asked the general of thought control. "We assumed humans were like other species," Trell said. "But they're not," another scientist scoffed. "They bleed, they breathe, they sleep. They're not special." "No," Trell replied. "They are unstable." The others frowned. "Unstable how?" Trell pointed at James's file. "Most species have organized minds, clear fears, simple goals. They want peace, safety, survival. That's what our telepaths are trained to handle." He tapped the screen again. "But humans are filled with contradictions." "What do you mean?" "They want peace but crave war. They want love but hurt each other. They create art from pain. They laugh in death. They dream of impossible things and try to make them real." A general folded his arms. "So, they're insane," Trell shook his head. "No, that is their strength. Their minds are not walls to break through. They are doors always changing, opening into something new." A silence filled the room. The Emperor's voice echoed from the large screen above them. "I want proof." Trell nodded. "Then I'll go inside myself." Gasps filled the chamber. "You're not a mind reader," someone said. "I know," Trell said calmly, "but I will not enter to control him. I will enter to understand him." The Emperor gave a slow nod. "Approved. You have one chance." Trell entered the mental interface chamber the next day. He wore no armor. Just a simple MindLink headset and a heart monitor. Inside the white room, James sat calmly as always. Trell walked in, holding the device. James looked up. Another one. Trell didn't answer right away. He sat across from James and placed the headset on. I won't force your mind, Trell said. I just want to walk through it. James tilted his head. That's a bad idea. Why? Because my mind is like my world, beautiful, broken, and full of sharp edges. Trell closed his eyes. The connection began. At first, he was in a memory. A young James running through a field on earth, grass under his feet. Laughter. A woman's voice calling his name. Then the sky changed. It turned red. Sirens. Smoke. Explosions. The child James looked up and whispered, "Why do we destroy what we love?" The scene shifted. Now Trell was in a school, surrounded by books. James was older, reading something. The words on the page moved. You are not what you seem. You are what you hide. The book burst into flames. Trell turned. Now he was in a war zone. Bombs fell. People screamed. He saw James as a soldier, now eyes full of sorrow, not hate. He carried a wounded friend. Suddenly Trell was underwater. Choking, sinking. He couldn't breathe. Then a hand reached out. James pulled him up. Trell gasped as the vision faded. He blinked and looked around. He was still sitting in the room, but he was sweating. His hands shook. James looked at him quietly. Still think we're like the others? Trell didn't answer. He stood and walked out. Later, he gave his report to the council. They have pain. More than we've ever seen, but they turn it into strength. Explain, someone said. Trell took a breath. Most species break under fear, but humans, some of them become braver. Most minds collapse from trauma, but they grow. It's like fire to them. It burns, but it also builds. Another general asked, "Can we copy it?" No, Trell said. It's not something you can take. It comes from choice, from free will. The Emperor leaned forward. Then they are dangerous. They are unpredictable, Trell replied. But maybe that's not always dangerous. Maybe it's just different. But the Emperor had already made his decision. Earth will be erased. Their minds are too risky. Their spirit is poison. That same night, a fleet was prepared. Thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers. A direct path to Earth. But something strange happened right before launch. One of the telepaths in the command center fell to the ground. Screaming, he pointed to the stars. I see it, he whispered. The Earth, it's not a place, it's a feeling. And it's inside us now. He died seconds later. No wounds. Just silence. Others began to show the same signs, fear, memory flashes. Dreams of Earth, but none had ever been there. In the white room, James sat alone. Then he looked up, smiled softly, and whispered, You let me in. The room was quiet. Dr. James Cade sat on the same white chair in the same empty space. His eyes were closed. He looked calm, peaceful, almost asleep, but inside him, a storm was building. Xeroth's voice still echoed inside the Varnak mines. Though he was long gone, some said he had vanished into space. Others believed he had died. But those who had touched James's mind, telepaths, technicians, even guards, were no longer the same. They called it the Inner War. It began with whispers. A Varnak guard named Ulrich stood at his station, staring into the hallway. His shift had just started. But he kept hearing a soft sound. A laugh. Human. Childlike. He looked around. Who's there? No answer. He tightened his grip on the weapon. Then it came again. A whisper this time. Why do you obey? Ulrich spun around. The hallway was empty. Cold metal, quiet lights. He touched his communicator. Control, is there movement in Sector B9? A voice replied. Negative. All systems normal. But Ulrich's hands were shaking. In the control room, Varlin reviewed footage from the last hour. He played back security video of James's cell. Nothing moved. Then, suddenly static appeared. Just for 1 second. And during that second, James's eyes opened and looked straight at the camera, only for a flash. But it made Varlin step back. "That's not possible," he said. Technician Yex leaned in. "What happened?" He looked at me. Yex frowned. "Through a camera?" Varlin closed the screen. "Something's wrong with the human. We need to find out what." But they already knew. They just didn't want to admit it. A telepath named Lyros was brought in. He had avoided James until now, fearing what happened to the others. But the Emperor had made his orders clear: connect or be replaced. So Lyros entered the chamber. James didn't move. Lyros placed his hand near the human's head, hovering just inches away. "I don't want to fight," Lyros said softly. James opened his eyes. "Then why are you here? I want to see what you really are." James nodded once. "All right. But don't blame me if you can't unsee it." The connection formed. Lyros's body went still. Then his eyes widened. He was inside. But it wasn't a mind. It was a battlefield. Burning skies. Broken cities. Laughing children. Dead soldiers. Flags waving. Bombs falling. Poetry. Music. Screams. Silence. He stood in a street. But every window showed a different world. One had fire. Another had snow. One showed stars. Another, a grave. "Where am I?" Lyros asked. "You're in my mind," James's voice said from the clouds. "But it's endless." James's voice echoed again. "We hold everything. That's what you don't understand about humans. We are not one thing. We are everything." Lyros turned around. He saw himself now, standing in front of a mirror, but his reflection didn't match. It was younger, innocent, afraid. The reflection whispered, "Why did you follow every order?" Lyros shook his head. "This isn't real." "But it is," James's voice said. "You buried this part of you. I didn't make it. I just showed it." The battlefield changed. Now he was in a forest. Then a courtroom. Then a quiet room. With a single chair, James sat there. "Why do you obey them?" he asked. Lyros shouted, "I have no choice." James smiled sadly. "That's what you tell yourself." Lyros pulled out of the connection. He gasped. Fell to the floor. Blood dripped from his nose. But that wasn't the worst part. He was crying. A Varnak. Crying. He looked at James and whispered, "I'm sorry." Then he ran out. The guards tried to stop him, but Lyros didn't fight. He just dropped to his knees in the hall, covering his ears. James was still inside his head, inside all their heads. It spread faster than fear. Guards started to speak softer. Technicians hesitated to watch the cameras. Some workers reported dreams of Earth, of oceans, of humans they had never met. A young female guard, Araka, sat in her room and drew pictures. She had never drawn before. But now, she sketched a little girl holding a red balloon. She didn't know who the girl was, but she cried while drawing it. Later that day, Araka passed by James's cell. He looked at her through the glass. "I hope she finds peace," he said softly. Araka froze. "What?" James tilted his head. "The girl in your dream. The one with the balloon." Araka stepped back, hands shaking. "You weren't there," she whispered. James looked at the wall again. "You brought her. I just listened." The Varnak Empire had always used the mind to control, but they had never imagined someone could fight them with feelings. James didn't send commands. He sent reminders. Memories. Shadows of regrets. Hopes long buried. And now, no one was sure who they really were. In the Emperor's private chamber, the leader of the Varnak stood in silence. He watched reports on floating screens. One showed a ship captain quitting. Another, a scientist writing poetry. One video showed a group of soldiers sitting in silence, crying together. He slammed his hand on the console. This is a disease, he growled. That human must be erased. But deep inside, even the Emperor had doubts, and James knew it. That night, Varlin came alone to the White Room. James was standing now, hands behind his back. You've changed us, Varlin said. I didn't force anything, James replied. Then what did you do? James turned slowly. I opened a door. Varlin looked tired, older, broken. I don't know what's real anymore. James smiled gently. Good. That means you're thinking for yourself, Varlin asked. Is this your plan? To infect our minds? No, James said. My plan was to survive. But your people made a mistake. You believed the mind was only a weapon. You forgot it could also be a mirror. Varlin sat down against the wall. Then what now? He asked. James looked at the ceiling. Now the war begins. But it's already started, Varlin said. James looked him in the eyes. I'm not talking about war between humans and Varnak. I'm talking about the war inside you. And somewhere deep in the Empire. That war was just beginning. The Mind Lab was silent. The hum of machines was the only sound. Soft but steady. Zeroth sat in the chair, his head bowed, fingers switching nervously. He had tried again. Tried to read the human, but this time was different. He could feel it. The connection was stronger than before. James's mind was like a mirror, reflecting everything back. Zeroth closed his eyes and reached out. He saw the human's memories, a childhood filled with laughter and pain, a world full of color and chaos. But then the images changed. The reflections twisted and bent. Suddenly, Zeroth was no longer inside James's mind. He was looking at himself, a younger version of Zeroth, standing alone on a battlefield. Faces of the dead surrounded him. A voice whispered, Do you remember what you did? Zeroth's heart raced. He tried to pull away, but the mirror held him fast. Another face appeared, one he had tried to forget. A child with bright eyes, trembling. Zero to single quotes his breath caught. I'm sorry, he whispered. The mirror shattered. Zero Tate gasped, breaking the link and falling back in the chair. The room was spinning. He felt the human's presence in his mind, stronger than ever. Do you see now? James's voice echoed softly. Zeroth opened his eyes. You are trapped, James said. Not by me, but by yourself. The guards rushed in. Remove him. One shouted. But Zeroth shook his head. No, let me try once more. Zeroth closed his eyes and reached out again. The Mind Lab filled with light and shadow. He was inside a forest, but the trees were made of glass. Every step he took shattered a branch. Whispers surrounded him. You killed. You lied. You hid. Zeroth shivered. Then he saw his reflection in a pool of water. The image smiled. But it was not his own face. It was James's. You thought you could read me, but I read you first. Zeroth staggered back. Your mind is a mirror. Every thought you send bounces back. James smiled. Your memories, your fears, your sins, they are all mine now. Zeroth's body trembled. He was trapped in his own mind, and it was breaking. Days passed. Zeroth did not leave the chair. He was silent. The Emperor summoned him. You have failed. Zeroth looked up, eyes hollow. I have learned something, he said. What? That humans are not like other species. The Emperor frowned. Zeroth continued. Their minds are not just walls to break. They are mirrors. They reflect what you fear to see in yourself. The Emperor's voice was cold. Then we must destroy this human. But if we destroy him, Zeroth said, we destroy the mirror. And with it, our chance to see ourselves clearly. The Emperor did not answer. Zeroth was left alone. In the empty Mind Lab. James sat calmly. He whispered, I am not a prisoner. I am the mirror. The Varnak Empire was crumbling, not with fire or warships, but from inside their own minds. It began with small things. In the dark halls of the Star Fortress, Guards whispered of voices, soft, endless voices that no one else could hear. Lieutenant. Kor sat at his post, eyes wide, breathing shallow. His communicator buzzed. Lieutenant? Report, the commander's voice cracked. Kor's hand trembled as he lifted the device. I don't know what's happening, sir, he said. I hear them, inside my head. Voices? Yes, they speak in many tones. Human tones. Stay focused, Lieutenant. But Kor was already shaking. The words replayed in his mind, not from outside, but deep inside. They were memories, not his. Pain, hope, laughter, anger, sorrow, all mixed like a storm. The commander frowned. Get help, you're needed at the medical bay. Before Kor could respond, his eyes glazed over. He dropped the communicator and collapsed in the medical bay. Doctors hurried to his side. Machines beeped wildly, but their scans showed no illness. Dr. Varlin stepped forward. He's not sick, his mind is overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by what? A nurse asked. By the human mind, Varlin said grimly. It's like a virus. Across the Empire, other mind readers reported the same. The hive mind was losing connection. Commander Trell met with the Emperor in the High Command chamber. We're losing control, Trell said. The humans aren't just fighting with weapons. Their minds are weapons themselves. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Then we fight fire with fire. We tried, Trell replied. But it's spreading too fast. One by one, our telepaths are breaking. Outside, in a dark corridor, Zeroth stumbled. His mind screamed with memories not his own. He saw faces of those he had destroyed. His own sins reflected in 1,000 voices. He sank to his knees, gasping. They're inside me, he whispered. I cannot escape. Suddenly, alarms blared. The Emperor's fleet was launching an attack on Earth. But as the first ships prepared to jump, something unexpected happened. The bridge crew froze. The ship's eye flickered. Voices echoed through the corridors. Human voices filled with emotion. Captain Rael gasped, clutching his head. I see them, he whispered. Their memories, their pain. One by one, crew members dropped. The AI shut down. The ship drifted. On the bridge of the command ship, the Emperor's face twisted in fury. Send reinforcements. But those ships never launched. They, too, were collapsing from within. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. James Cade watched the stars from a quiet hill. He smiled. They think they can crush us, he said softly. But they don't understand. Our minds are infinite. Back on the Empire's station, Varlin watched as Zeroth was carried away. He's lost, Varlin said. But he carries their madness inside him. A technician looked up. What now? Varlin clenched his fists. We survive. Or we fall. The Empire was no longer a place of order. It was chaos. Because the humans had crossed the line. And now, the collapse had begun. The command room was tense. Screens flickered with unreadable codes, and the hum of the machines was growing unstable. Varnak telepaths clustered around the main console, their faces pale and eyes wide with fear. Captain Larak slammed his fist on the table. How much longer until the mind link stabilizes? Varlin shook his head. It's impossible. The humans' thoughts keep breaking through. They are not just invading our minds. They are reshaping them. One telepath, Lyros, gasped. It's like their thoughts are weapons, not physical, but mental. They cut deeper than any blade. Larak rubbed his temples. This was supposed to be a simple capture. Instead, it's a battle we cannot see or fight in the usual way. From the dark corner of the room, a guard whispered, I hear voices. Not my own. They mock me, challenge me. Varlin nodded grimly. The human's mind is no longer just a prisoner. It's a weapon, a virus spreading in our thoughts. Suddenly, alarms blared. The screens showed chaos on multiple ships. Crews were dropping, unable to resist the mental assault. One by one, Command centers went silent. Lurek barked orders. Seal all communication. Block all mind links. But it was too late. The weapon had spread like wildfire in the humans. Sal. James sat cross-legged, eyes closed, smiling softly. A voice echoed in the chamber. You think your thoughts can destroy an empire? James opened his eyes, calm and steady. Thoughts have always been the strongest weapons. What you call destruction is only the birth of understanding. Outside, telepaths writhed in pain. Memories of their worst fears, their deepest regrets, flooded their minds. Some cried out, others went silent forever. Varlin struggled to keep control. We must isolate him, cut off his mind from ours. Lurek shook his head. If we do, we lose the chance to learn. But if we don't, we risk total collapse. James stood slowly and looked through the glass. You fear what you don't understand, but your fear is my strength. Larek's hand hovered over his weapon. Do it, James said quietly. Or watch your empire fall not by fire, but by thought. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The chamber shook. Outside, ships powered down. Systems failed. The empire was falling apart from inside. Varlin whispered, when thought becomes a weapon, no one wins. James smiled. But maybe. That's the point. The cold metal walls of the command center hummed with tension. Outside, the once proud fleet of the Varnak Empire drifted silently, powerless. Inside, silence weighed heavier than any weapon. Dr. James Cade sat alone in his small white room, calm as ever. His eyes held a quiet fire, a fire not of anger, but of hope. Varlin, the Empire's chief scientist, paced the floor with heavy steps. How can one mind do all this? How can a single human bring down an empire built on centuries of control? James looked up and smiled softly. Because my mind is not just mine. It is a mirror that shows you what you refuse to see. Varlin's voice trembled. You didn't just fight us. You freed us from fear, from lies, from control. James nodded slowly. Freedom begins inside the mind. When you stop fearing your own thoughts, you stop fearing others. Suddenly, the door opened. The Emperor entered, face pale but eyes burning with fury and something else, uncertainty. You have broken us, he said. But not with weapons, with your mind. James stood and faced him calmly. I did not break you. You broke yourselves. By fearing what you could not control. The Emperor looked away, then back. What do you want? Not war, James said. Not destruction. I want understanding. Peace that lasts because it is chosen, not forced. The Emperor's hand twitched, but he lowered it. If this is your true power, then teach us. Outside, across the silent ships and empty halls, something changed. Minds once shackled began to think freely. Fear melted into hope. Hatred softened into curiosity. Varlin approached James quietly. You gave us a chance, James smiled. Sometimes the strongest weapon is the mind that chooses to set others free. In that moment, the Varnak Empire began to rebuild not as masters, but as equals, and a new chapter of the galaxy was born.